Hey everyone, I'm Tolemari, or just Mari, and I really like playing the Krasue. I've been playing her non-stop since the Sinister Grace chapter dropped. I have played her almost 100 hours. While that's like pretty small if you kind of think about it, I've also just been playing her like a ton when I got off of work. Uh, Lately, I've been kind of in a burnout stage of playing the Krasue, but I still go to play her for majority of my games whenever I do play Dead by Daylight. I wanted to talk about the state of the Krasue and what's wrong with her. Like, what's going on here? Why are people always talking about let's rework Krasue, let's delete Krasue, let's just nerf her to the ground, uh, etc., etc. So first off, this is like the surface level. Survivors absolutely despise playing against her. Uh, a lot of things that survivors will say about the Krasue is that she's boring to play against. She takes no skill. She's too dependent on teamwork for you to stand a chance. And I think that there is truth in all of these things that they're saying. Uh, Perhaps not in the way that they think they are saying it, but I think there's absolutely merit in what is being said by Survivor players. And it is not just them. There are players that have an interest in wanting to play this character, or like they just think she's really cool, and then they play her, and then like they have a negative experience because to them the killer feels really clunky, like unwieldy. She feels worse, or she feels really punishing. And likewise, I think there's like a lot of merit here. There's like a lot uh, to kind of explain why the Krasue has fallen off in terms of play rate. Uh, and I think the crux of it is that her gameplay loop gets boring really fast. Now, admittedly, someone as me who almost has like 100 hours on her, there's very little variation in chases you have. At a broad level, uh, as long as the survivor has no one to help them, you will kill them. Um, but if they do have teammates, that's where there's a bit of variation. But when they do have teammates, the chase gets extended by so long against that individual survivor that it becomes up to you to assess like, okay, uh, is like the person body blocking like in a worse spot, or should I still commit to my original target? Like, is my original target like the survivor who's already been hooked once or twice? Like, can I commit one of these decisions? Uh, but for survivors especially, it feels like, uh, from their point of view, there's very little variance because either they have help and they don't die immediately, or they do not have help and then they get one shot, essentially. Uh, the Krasue also has a very low skill floor, uh, and I think her skill ceiling is slightly below average. Uh, but the main reason is that like while there are things you can do that like elevate her skill a bit, there's no reason for you to engage with that skill ceiling. Uh, you can there's like nothing stopping you from being like an absolute like menace to society, and you just run the solution on Krasue all day every day. And why stop there? Run Chicken Head, run Bamboozle. Like there's very little reason for you to like want to engage with anything skillful for the Krasue, uh, because it's just way easier for you to commit to like this kind of brain dead approach where you just play to minimize the interaction that you have yourself as the killer, but also minimize the interaction that the survivors have against you. Uh, and I think that is itself one of the biggest contributors to why many players think that the Krasue is really skillless or boring or brain dead or whatever adjective that they use to describe the killer. And they're not even wrong because I hate this shit. Like, I get so disappointed when I finally go against a Krasue player. Oh yeah, and it's just a fucking sociopath running the solution. And then, wow, they actually disconnect the moment they don't down anyone with their fucking perks. But I digress. Now, I personally believe that the shapeshifting and the stance switching part of the Krasue's power feels kind of redundant. Uh, because, like, body form is basically uh, the form that you switch to break pallets in, and also, like, it's the form that, like, enables head form to do damage. Compared to Dracula, the Dark Lord, her forms do not feel like individual tools for the killer player to choose how and when to use. Uh, Now, to adjust this would require like a pretty big type of rework scale project, but I absolutely understand why people feel like disappointed if they want to try out the Krasue and like it sounds really cool, like being in body form and infecting people, and then like being in head form and like flying all over, and then when you play her, like it kind of feels kind of bad. Like it kind of feels like a letdown, especially compared to Dracula, who Dracula his vampire form he has like a ranged attack. He has the wolf with has a dash attack and like the bat form. The bat form is like uh not quite the same as like the vampire and wolf form, but it makes up for it for like feeling really distinct and having its own strengths separate from like the other two offensive forms. Uh, as I've said before, I think the gameplay of the Krasue is her weakest aspect, which is a shame because I think if she had like much more compelling gameplay, she would be a perfect original killer. Like we would be talking about her in the same regard that we talk about like Unknown. Like like a lot of people, even if they think the Unknown is really weak, they will say, yeah, Unknown is like the best original killer we ever had, and I think it's such a shame because if you just disregard the gameplay for a little bit, the Krasue is a killer with amazing music and a phenomenal gore and visual effects and sound effects. Like that is why I play that killer. Like I play this killer so often just so I can hear the music, just so I can like vibe with like the sound effects, just so I can see her remove her body, re-enter in her body. All of this shit is amazing. But her gameplay is the weakest aspect of that. So that is why I believe uh, that there needs to be something to happen. Okay. Now I also want to talk about like what did not work with the CrossFit, like uh, what has been done before, and like what can we learn from it too. The low hanging fruit is that uh, on her original state, well, even now, she has an unconditional palette vault. Uh, Now, this is horrible because it basically allows the Krasue to ignore a resource that like otherwise like other killers could not ignore. Uh, However, behavior approached this problem by making the palette vault really, really, really bad. Uh, in majority of the matches I play, I pretty much almost never use it. Uh, it's basically like a vestigial part of her original design because like if they make it a little bit better, uh, survivors will start getting hit where they feel like they should be safe, and that will result in way more complaints and way more negative experiences. So behavior, I think they made the right call in nerfing this ability, but regardless, there's like a lot of controversy with this ability. Uh, Another thing that didn't quite work is the pre-nerf regurgitate. Uh, Basically, what happened is that Regurgitate had almost no delay from when you fire it. So what would happen is that like survivors would try to dodge, rightfully so. They would try to dodge your ability, uh, and you would hit it. But in the process of them dodging it, or trying to dodge it, you could just follow up immediately with a basic attack. And for a killer that can already just kind of run you down when she transforms, that was horrible to play against. And even me, even me as someone that wants to play against more Krasues and like really enjoys the character, I found that to be really overbearing when she had her live release because that just feels horrible because like you're punished for doing the right thing as a survivor, and like the killer player is basically rewarded for the bare minimum. Um, I brought up the PTB intestinal whip because like I always see like people bring this up uh, whenever people are talking about Krasue balance changes, and this one has me in disbelief because it makes me think that anyone who suggests this did not play her on the PTB. Uh, so basically, how it worked is that there was very minimal turning when you would do your intestinal whip attack. So basically, you would just keep going forward. Why this felt really bad is that like it felt like you could only back rev survivors, that you could only uh, use the ability in the most opportune times because otherwise you will just not hit the survivor. It felt so unforgiving that if you hit like anything, if you hit like any obstruction, you just miss out on the hit. That felt horrible. Uh, that should not return. Uh, yeah, this is just a horrible idea. Um, Now this might be controversial to like people who don't play the Krasue, but I believe that the leash removal upon unhooks was really bad. I understand why it was done, so that the Krasue can't just drop everything and go tunnel out the survivor. Uh, I know that was happening too because I also did that shit. uh, but the unseen side effect of this is that because survivors no longer need to remove the leech when they get unhooked, this basically results in uh, the overall mushroom economy in a Krasue match favoring the survivors. That basically the survivors will always have more than enough mushrooms than they know what to do with. Uh, they will always basically have any available. So if you're ever trying to like rightfully infect the survivor and then they like go away, uh, they will get a mushroom reliably. Like uh, there's no risk or opportunity cost. Like they'll probably just find a mushroom on the way to their generator, uh, and this sucks as the Krasue because there's already plentiful mushrooms that spawn um, when the match starts, and then you take into account the mushrooms that spawn each time that you transform. So survivors are pretty much always having mushrooms available to use. And another thing I wanted to add is that I feel like behavior has been really cautious about giving a palette break to head form. Uh, I feel that the killer is already negatively impacted by body blocking to an extent that no other killer has. So why does she have to wait an additional 2.2 seconds for every palette that she decides to break? Because that is the time it takes for her to switch from head form to body form. Uh, this itself can be attributed to why so many casual Krasue players feel that she's like really clunky or that she feels really bad. Because yeah, it all adds up. Like that's 2.2 seconds on top of the default 2.34 seconds of you breaking the pallet. That's almost 5 seconds of you breaking a piece of wood. Uh, and we wonder like why are people like unhappy? Uh, Now this is like uh, the part where like I propose my vision for how to change the cross suit. Uh, Basically, I think we need to remove the movement speed penalty when the survivor begins eating a mushroom. Additionally, we increase the interaction time from 3 seconds to 8. And once the interaction is complete, once the survivor uh, they eat the mushroom, the leech level is removed by 1 level, and the passive removal does not continue. Basically, survivors take 8 seconds to eat the mushroom, but when they do, they immediately remove 1 level of bleached. Uh, for context, this would mean that like uh, if you were like at leached 1, it would require you one mushroom to drop it from leached 1 to leech 0, and then another mushroom to fully remove it. Um, Basically, each time that you would remove leech, it would continue progressing the infection. It would only stop progressing when you fully remove it altogether, which is what I have here. Where like for example, if you were at leech 2, it would take 3 mushrooms for you to fully remove it. Now, this is massive. This is massive because of all the implications that this has, not just in the immediate chase, but also at the macro level. In the immediate chase, this basically means that survivors, there is a greater likelihood for them to remove it if they are playing correctly, if they're playing around line of sight, uh, if they're playing smart, uh, and they're playing around uh, like your regurgitate and also like playing around the resources intelligently, uh, they will feel that they can beat you. Uh, Now that is pretty big because this is uh, like if you're a killer player or a Krasue player specifically, this looks like I'm nerfing the killer. And in this regard, yes. In this specific instance, yes. Uh, I think it's a necessary evil that uh, what survivors find uh, really frustrating about the killer is how reliant they are on their teammates. And while we can't address the skill issue uh, of the entire survivor player base with simple gameplay adjustments, I think that like adjusting the Krasue and her infection and the mushrooms in this way allows the survivor to feel more comfortable with like cleansing during chase and like playing around line of sight, so they don't get interrupted. Kind of like artists, where uh, you kind of want to uh, like position in a way that you're not gonna be visible, um, but you can also like repel the birds. Uh, by rebalancing this entire dynamic in this way, uh, my intention is that survivors will feel uh, that this will be more engaging and more fun to them. However, to also give my Krasue players out there a bone, uh, this cleansing interaction only applies for 1 level. Um, so this means that like at a macro level, if you are like slugging survivors and uh, you are resetting the cleansing and shit, um, this will result in way more pressure than you would otherwise have. Um, you'll basically be forcing survivors to look for more mushrooms and uh, try to maintain their safety while also trying to maintain uh, when they need to come help their teammates and also like progress the objective. Uh, Now, admittedly, that last part, as I describe it, it sounds really scary, uh, because it sounds like, oh, I'm punishing survivors way more for not being on a team, like on comms, on Discord, and things like that. Uh, and that is heavily counterbalanced by giving survivors way more agency in chase to remove the infection. Uh, and that is why I specified that this will be for one level only. Uh, the added uh, the added side effect of this that the Krasue player can also leverage is that um, they leave a survivor infected, but um, they sorry. They leave the survivor infected, but they also like track that survivor because like the Krasue player will know that the survivor has not fully removed the leech status effect. So from here, you can leverage the mushrooms that you're creating to basically force the survivor away from like where they need to be, which is on generators, and you basically exert pressure through that way because otherwise, if the survivor is not taking leech seriously, they will basically be vulnerable all game to you, and uh, this is something that the survivors cannot ignore. Like currently in live, uh, it's pretty easy for you as a survivor to like just find a mushroom and eat it, and like it'll like passively remove it. Uh, Now, granted, like of course it's different when like you're being chased by Krasue on the live servers, uh, but like if you're ever just infected and like the Krasue isn't committing to you, uh, there's no reason for you to ever really be in danger, and like that aspect of it really sucks for the Krasue player because it feels that like unless you're like in a situation where you're forcing everyone to like engage with things other than the mushroom, uh, your power feels kind of like bad basically, because the survivors can just cleanse it whenever, and uh, unless like they're all injured and you're like slugging one or two, and they gotta reset and they have to choose like okay I need a mushroom because like I need to cleanse myself before I can heal because otherwise if I heal and I let it reach leech 2, my heal will be useless. But outside of those like extreme outliers, like this helps the Cross who have like way more like uh, threat at the macro level. Because like every survivor will basically need more mushrooms. So this also means that like in the event that you had everyone infected, uh, all four players are infected. That is a scary prospect because like that essentially means that the entire survivor team needs 8 mushrooms for everyone to be safe. And if they do not hurry up, it'll increase by one more mushroom for every survivor. Um, I propose this idea because I feel like this is like the best way to uh, to alleviate like the frustrations that survivors have, but also like a bit of frustration that the Krasue player, i.e., me, has like when you're going and entering these matches and uh, it kind of feels that like yeah like your power isn't really doing much. But moving on, um, for here I'm proposing that Leech 0 gets the same passive progression of Leech 1 to progress into Leech 2. This is basically just adding like uh, the charge rate that Leech 1 has, but adding it to Leech 0. Uh, Leech 0 is not officially uh, like a named part of the Krasue's power, but it's basically when you infect a survivor who isn't infected, you infect them with intestinal whip. Uh, but the reason for this is that it's kind of pointless for you to ever hit a survivor with intestinal whip. Now, I totally understand why behavior did this because like this is supposed to like implicitly inform you that like you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to uh, stay in head form and like only infect people through that way. Um, I totally understand that, but the caveat with that decision is that because it doesn't progress on the live servers, it means that like if you as a survivor, if you ever body block and the Krasue hits you, you're still safe. You basically have two more opportunities after that first hit to like be safe because like you're not going to be infected. Uh, that infection will never progress. You could just ignore it. Like you could ignore that infection, that partial infection that you have, and you could just go do a generator, and you would be safe. Uh, in fact, like the Krasue would most likely just hit you with regurgitate anyway. Uh, if you had partial infection, so like you're basically at zero infection, even though you were hit a few times. But adding this seemingly innocuous feature uh, that Leech 1 already has, but adding it to Leech 0 basically allows any infection that the Krasue applies to be threatening, uh, potentially threatening, I should say. Uh, because now, if you body block, there is a very real possibility for Leech 0 to progress to Leech 1, and now all of a sudden, uh, the Krasue can damage you. Uh, but yeah, this is just a little bit so like survivors feel compelled to like engage with the infection and engage with mushrooms as a whole. All right. Now this is the part where like this is more about like improving the quality of how the Krasue feels to play. Um, Adjusting the transition times for each form in this way. Uh, the goal is basically to make head form, like transforming into head form, more of a commitment. But also like alleviating the punishment from like turning from head to body. I fully agree with Revium, who posted this idea, and I also copied the exact numbers he provided too. Uh, but uh, but yeah, like I fully agree with the sentiment that like um, if you decide to transform into head form, that should be more of a commitment rather than just being kind of free right now. Because right now, as it is, like uh, it is very easy for you to just transform and immediately get a follow up hit. Um, but also, likewise, uh, it feels unnecessarily punishing for you as the Krasue player to recognize appropriately uh, when you should transform, but it takes you 2.2 seconds for you to transform, and like in what, like you don't have the threat from your power. Your power itself is not going to get you a kill. um, you're just a basic default killer. You're trapper without traps when you transform the body form. And for that same reason, I also agree with the sentiment that her terror radius should be reduced to 24 meters. And okay, body form's terror radius should be reduced to 24 meters, not head form. That was a stupid typo, but uh, for that same reason, I just think it makes sense. Like, uh, why is a killer that like can't really threaten you with her power until she infects you? Like, why is she a 32-meter killer? Uh, Additionally, I think that sorry. Um, Additionally, I think that this also just works way better than letting intestinal whip break pallets or letting the vaulting action break pallets or just letting her break pallets on her own in that form. I feel like reducing the like downtime that you have like when you transition. I feel like that's a better compromise than like giving headform way more power than it needs to have. Uh, headform is basically already like uh, the form you want to be in as the Krasue, and I absolutely I get it. I play this killer so much. I get it. It would feel great if I could just break a pallet whenever, uh, but I totally understand why behavior um, behavior is against it. While it annoys me, I absolutely understand. Yeah. Speaking of pallets, sorry, like I've been yapping so much, so I needed water. So speaking of pallets, there was this tweet from Pixel Bush that I have had in my head like for so many months. Basically, the idea is to let Regurgitate apply a status effect to drop pallets. And this status effect basically enables the Krasue to vault in only these specific drop pallets. I also want to specify that this would like be like a quick vault for these specific pallets because for context, around the time when he posted this tweet, uh, this was like before she got nerfed. Uh, so I recall that like uh, this was where like the idea came from. Uh, but the part that like really that I found really compelling is that this basically contributes to the infection system and the Krasue mushroom economy. Um, basically, uh, survivors have like another layer of decision making to make when they're like engaging with mushrooms and also choosing whether to use it on themselves or like another resource. Uh, in addition, this also gives Headform like something else that isn't just like giving her a pallet break or like removing the vault. Uh, by tying this functionality to body form 2, there's also like way better synergy. Like uh, the proposed gameplay loop would be to basically have like body form remain the setup component of the Krasue, uh, while like head form is like the executioner, where like you basically act upon the setup of like the body form, and this idea continues that idea of like what's already present for the Krasue. Um, but yeah, I feel that this is absolutely fitting with what I had proposed earlier here, uh, with like making mushrooms way more relevant because like mushrooms are not like a uh, guaranteed like single action feature. Like they require way more involvement if you're not taking the status effect, the infection seriously. And I think that this like adds to that instead of taking away from it. Uh, now, like I personally I had always been like of the mind that like I feel like her vault is like was kind of like killing her like in the terms of like balance because like the palette vault is like both powerful but also obnoxious, but like tying it to a pre-existing condition but also allowing survivors to deny you of the palette vault. I feel like that this creates like way more engagement for both the killer player but also survivors as well. Um, So what is like the result of my changes that I'm proposing? I believe that my changes that I'm proposing are create will create like a healthier version of this killer that is much more fun to play as and also much more fun to play against. There's like a lot of conversations happening about this killer. Some people, while there are some good ideas that I've seen, um, I think like a lot of people misinterpret the problems that the Krasue has, or they misunderstand how to address them. Uh, a lot of players think that like it would be just so easy and so perfect if we just like made her like Wesker, if we made her like the hillbilly, if we made her like my favorite dash killer, whatever. Uh, while yeah, maybe that would work. Uh, that would just be deleting the killer, and I don't think we should do that. I think the Krasue has like a lot of potential to be like a great killer. Uh, she already ticks every box for me, and I think we need to like work with what we have with this killer. Like I do not think she's like a lost cause. Like she's not like old Freddy, where like old Freddy had like one ability that was like good and like the other ability was like horrible. I feel like there's like a lot that can be done with the cross suit, and I hope that what I presented to you uh, will be like way more compelling than the version of the cross suit that we have currently on live. Um, I also wanted to be mindful to the developers that I wanted to avoid being too excessive with the changes I'm suggesting. Like, I wanted to avoid like something crazy like adding a new animation or like adding brand new assets or like uh, something totally out of the scope of like what the Crossu already is. Even this idea that I copied from Pixel Blush, this idea, um, this can be displayed by the add-ons that she already has. Like the Crossu has two add-ons that interact with objects, but specifically Rotten Swine. Rotten Swine is the add-on that applies a mark when you regurgitate on an object on a palette, and uh, when you break the palette, it is destroyed faster. Uh, but you also see like kind of like a visual effect emanating from that palette. Uh, the same visual effects could be applied for this rotten status effect idea. Uh, so I definitely want to be mindful of like what could realistically be possible for this killer. I feel that what I have suggested, um, this is like really in the scope of something that could be done in a year, maybe 6 months. Uh, yeah, I wanted to avoid avoid being super ambitious and like uh, basically pretending to be a programmer. I am not a programmer. That is one of my faults. I am not. Uh, I am not at that level of like contributing to like a game design project in that way. But I hope what I've like suggested here uh, it is hopefully something that you will enjoy uh, having in the game, as opposed to what we have right now.